the back fence with Tony Kemp.
Well, we're 11 months out from the next Rugby World Cup and already 2 coaches have been shown the door. You're sacked. And these are coaches who were given the roles because their bosses thought they were in with the chance of winning the coveted trophy. And to top it all off, I fear that a number of others are also on their last lap of the World Cup coaching merry-go-round. The World Cup may be the last time we see a number of these guys at the helm of these international teams. And as the gap between the best and the worst international teams closes, so does the resilience of organisations who put all their eggs in one basket backing their coach to win. This means a complete plan is set 4 and sometimes 8 years out from a World Cup. But for both England and Wales, this seems to have been a total waste of time. So who is really to blame? Are we about to see the end of long-term contracts for coaches with the employ of 1 and 2-year contracts instead? A different scheme that organisations can utilise to protect their teams. Protection against coaches' potential or promises that can't be fulfilled. Or who are in the cold light of day simply aren't good enough. One thing I know is that being a career coach isn't for the faint-hearted. There's so much more than simply coaching to contend with. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, the coach is in the spotlight. They'll always be the scapegoat for the organisational errors, including coach selection, that leads to poor results. And with the sackings going on, one question has to be asked, where does this leave Scott Robertson in the NZRL? Well, only time will tell.
Off the back fence with Tony Kemp.
What a great moment it was to hear the banter between mates yesterday when Cam Norrie introduced his surprise guest on year. He was interview bombed by none other than Nick Kyrgios on our SENZ live cross. It got me thinking about life as a professional sportsman and how some things haven't changed when it comes to friendships and camaraderie. As a social media generation of athletes takes full effect, one thing that phones and computers can't replace is good old-fashioned friendships. The nature of the conversation between Cam Norrie and Nick Kyrgios and SENZ brought back memories of kinship off the pitch, away from the scrutiny of the media. Those were relationships that were developed in the past and have stood the test of time. Athletes today are burdened with expectation, and it could be argued that they have many more demands and intrusions than our generation. So it's refreshing to hear that friendships off the fields of gold are still flourishing. I love the chatter between both Cam and Nick, and they just spoke from their safe space. How good, allowing us all a glimpse of their strong friendship. Here's a big shout out to all the characters, the blokes who made my life as an athlete worth it. A shout out to all the good buggers. Let's hope this crucial part of life as a professional sportsperson endures.
Off the back fence with Tony Kemp.
Yesterday I said that the appointment of Dame Patsy Reddy was the biggest decision made by a sporting body in recent New Zealand sporting history. So let's put that into perspective, okay? Women only gained the right to vote in this country in 1893. A dozen years later, in 1905, the All Blacks' first team kicked off with the introduction of the team dubbed the Originals. However, as the men's game prospered and became a world-renowned team promoting the All Black brand, women's rugby in New Zealand didn't really kick in until the late 80s. In fact, it wasn't until 1989 that women's rugby started to get official recognition, when local organisations of matches by provinces and clubs was the very beginning. Then on July the 22nd, 1989, that's right, 1989, New Zealand fielded the very first international women's rugby union team against the touring United States side, the Californian Grizzlies. Now, talking about 1989-1990. So currently there are 3 women on the NZRU, and 2 of those are chair and vice chair. This comes on the back of a New Zealand Black Ferns team winning the World Cup in stunning fashion here on home soil. So when I say this is one of the biggest decisions in sporting history, have a look at the meteoric rise of women in our national game. When the All Blacks lifted the World Cup in 1987 for the first time, who could have believed it was within 35 years that women would lead our sport? Is the All Blacks really the iconic team of the decades? Well done, Patsy Reddy. Dame Patsy Reddy. You sure have made a hell of an entrance, and I believe you're going to make one hell of an impact.